This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. You know, there are some facts you just can't deny in life. 2 + 2 = 4, and the sky is blue. Steve King is a racist. Yeah, you've heard me say this before, like in my videos on November 15th and October 19th of last year, or even as far back as March 13th of 2017. It's been clear for any thinking person that Republican Representative Steve King is a racist. Given his history of racist comments related to immigrants and about immigration, he only ever has high praise for white people and Western civilization, which is white supremacist code for white people. But when it comes to people of color, Steve King shows his true colors. In fact, Steve King he's paved the way for Donald Trump on issues related to immigration, most notably when it comes to the wall. Remember when Steve King was given a speech about immigration on the House floor and drew a comparison between human beings and livestock.
I also say we need to do a few other things on top of that wall, and one of them be to put a little bit of wire on top here to provide a disincentive for people to climb over the top or put a ladder there. We could also electrify this wire with the kind of current that wouldn't kill somebody, but it would simply be a discouragement for them to be fooling around with it. We do that with livestock all the time. So I submit we build a wall like this. We do it for as many miles as we can, as many miles as we need, but it's probably going to be too.
And here are some other times Steve King has propped up vile white supremacist narratives.
You know, this idea of no racial profiling. I've seen the video. It looks to me like you don't need to bother with that particular factor because they're all appear to be of a single, of a single origin, I should say, continental origin might be the way to phrase that.
People business, though, does get a little tired, Charlie. I mean, I'd ask you to go back through history and figure out where are these contributions that have been made by these other categories of people that you're talking about? Where did any other subgroup of people contribute more to civilization?
And white people?
Than Western civilization itself, that's rooted in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and the United States of America, and every place where the footprint of Christianity settled the world. That's all of Western civilization.
So what about Asia? I want to sit here and make you in favor of We're not going to argue the history of Western civilization. Let me know for the record that if you're looking at the ledger of Western civilization.
But even though all this time Steve King was making his position on race crystal clear, it wasn't until last week that Republicans finally half-assed circled their wagons and released a very, very disapproving set of tweets. And all of this weak and toothless repudiation came following King's interview with the New York Times, in which he said, quote, "White nationalist, white supremacist, Western civilization, how did that language become offensive?" Unquote. Yeah, he just let it all hang out there. He went further, though, adding, quote, "Why did I sit in classes teaching me about the merits of our history and our civilization?" Unquote. And later, he expressed concern regarding the number of women and people of color in the new Congress when he said, quote, "You could look over there and think the Democratic Party is no country for white men." Unquote. Listen, it's obviously vile and disgusting, disgraceful and unacceptable that we have a newly re-elected Republican representative in Iowa who is now openly whining about the term white supremacist being used in a negative way. But no one should be surprised by this. Jeb Bush, Kevin McCarthy, all of these Republicans now scrambling to express their disappointment because he finally directly used the phrase white supremacist. Where have you been, gentlemen? Not only that, but your disappointment means nothing. Oh boy. What will Steve King do with a handful of Republican leaders expressing disappointment in his racism? So disappointing. But what can you do, you know? Well, Steve King did the bare minimum in response to Republican leaders pushing back against his comments that finally went too far in their eyes. only because they were so direct. He decided to try and reverse course.
Today, the New York Times is suggesting that I'm an advocate for white nationalism and white supremacy. I want to make one thing abundantly clear. I reject those labels and the evil ideology that they define. Further, I condemn anyone that supports this evil and bigoted ideology, which saw in its ultimate expression the systematic murder of 6 million innocent Jewish lives. It's true that, like the Founding Fathers, I am an advocate for Western civilization's values, and that I profoundly believe that America is the greatest tangible expression of these ideals the world has ever seen. Under any fair political definition, I am simply an American nationalist.
I reject those labels and evil ideology that they define. When only hours previously, the tune he was singing was, "How did white supremacists become offensive?" Not only are you not convincing, you're human garbage, Steve King, you little puke. Disgusting. So now we have Republican House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who says he has a meeting scheduled with Steve King today. He says, quote, "Action will be taken," unquote. Well, we'll all be waiting with bated breath to hear about the private meeting and the feigning of the slap of the wrist for Steve King. He is only the most vocal elected racist in the Republican Party, and Republicans can't pretend to care about racism in their party only when it becomes too apparent, when it's too vocal. It is there, even when Republicans fail to specifically support the phrase white supremacist. You see it in Donald Trump's both sides speech, in his Mexicans are rapists speech. If you don't surgically remove the cancer at its source, it will only continue to spread. Move beyond worthless disappointment and vague calls to action, and show the American people you care about making racism a thing of the past. This would be yet another test, and I'm waiting to see the action that will be taken. Because when you do nothing, you only reinforce that your party is a safe haven for hate and a refuge for racism.